before you start your next amigurumi project, you have to watch this video. If your amigurumis have these awful holes between stitches and you want to have a more professional look in your amigurumi dolls, I have 5 amazing tips that will be a game changer in your amigurumi career. And if I were you, I would stay until the end because tip number 5 is something that I am proud to say I developed myself. Hey guys, I am Bianca and welcome back to Crocheniacs. In today's video, we are diving in this common issue that many crocheters face every day, those pesky holes in our beautiful amigurumi dolls. But don't worry, because in this video, I'll share with you some fantastic tips and techniques that will help you avoid those gaps between stitches. So grab your crochet hooks and let's get it started. So tip number 1. Invisible decreases. There is another tutorial here in the channel where I teach how to do the invisible decreases, and I will leave the link for this video in the description down below. But decreases are an essential key when it comes to holes between stitches, especially when we are closing an amigurumi. But don't worry, because I have a very special tip for you to make your decreases even better. So what we want in our decreases is for them to be perfect and tight, like this bowl here. You see that my decreases are perfect. We cannot see gaps between stitches. Here was the magic ring where I started, and here I started decreasing to close the amigurumi, to close the bowl. And we see how perfect the decreases are because there are no gaps between stitches. I used the same yarn but different crochet hooks, and also I make sure to keep a better tension for this perfect bowl of amigurumi here. While in this one I used a bigger crochet hook size, and I didn't use the technique that I'm going to teach you now. I just made like a simple decrease that usually everyone teaches on YouTube, but this trick that I'll teach you today is amazing. I have never seen anyone teaching it, and yeah, I'm proud to say that I developed it myself, and yeah, it really works. You can see here that this was the magic ring where I started, and I can see some gaps between the stitches when we got closer to the end of the amigurumi, and these are the decreases. And just so you know, I also made invisible decreases here. So what's the difference between this invisible decrease and this one here? Well, the difference is a technique that I created and I'm going to teach you right now. So I have my sample here, and we all know that to make the decreases, we use the front loops. So this part you already know. I take my first loop, take the second loop, pass the yarn through both loops. I have 2 loops in my crochet hooks, crochet hook, yarn over, and this is a decrease. This is the part that you already know. But now the secret is, usually people have some difficulties when they have to make 2 decreases together, or 3 or 4 decreases, because then you start to see gaps between stitches. And then comes my fantastic tip. So I already made my decrease here, and now I'll make another one. Instead of just inserting the hook here, which is what everyone teaches, my secret is to bend the crochet piece a little bit, like this. You see that I'm literally bending to grab the next loop and the following one. Okay, Bianca, but why are you doing this? Let me show you something. Can you see when we make decreases, the stitch is a little twisted to the side because we decreased. We transformed 2 stitches into one, so it's a little bit bended. It's different from a single crochet or an increase, for example. So this stitch here is a bit far away from this loop that we have to use. It's further than a single crochet, a simple single crochet, and that's why we start to see gaps between stitches. And That's when my special tip comes, because when you bend, you bring this stitch closer to the loop that you have to work on. So when I do this, I place my stitches closer to each other, and when I make my decrease, I avoid the gaps. Especially if you have to do 3-4 decreases in a sequence. You see how far this stitch is from this one? It's very far from each other. And again, if I simply, and I'll do this just so you see the difference, I will make the normal decrease like everyone does, and it's so natural for me to bend the crochet piece that it's even hard not to do it now. I decreased. Guys, I'm really trying to make the stitch like a bit smaller, but it's difficult. You see this hole that I created? I was not forcing. I just made the decrease as everyone teaches. But when we, and I'll undo this because it's ugly. I don't want this. But when we bend like this, bend, bend, the stitches are closer to each other. I make my decrease. Perfect. There are no gaps between stitches. And this is the key to make a perfect decrease, like this small bow here. Tip number 2, using the wrong crochet hook size. Not necessarily the crochet hook recommended in the yarn label will be the best for you and for your project and for your amigurumi tension. These 2 bows here, I used the same yarn from Hobby. This one I crocheted with a 3mm crochet hook size, and this one with a 2mm crochet hook size. And this one, you cannot see stuffing coming out of it, there are no holes. If it was an amigurumi that I had to insert safety eyes, I would suffer a little bit to create the holes, because the hole to insert the eyes, because the stitches are very, very tight. While this one, the stitches are a little bit loose, and we can even see some holes between the stitches. But it doesn't mean that you have to use the same crochet hook size that I use, because the crochet hook size that I use is the appropriate size for my crochet tension, and that's why I always say that you have to try to practice and to experiment. Maybe a 2mm crochet hook size will be too tight for you and you won't like it. Maybe it's better a 2.5mm crochet hook size for you, for example. It's very interesting because for this yarn here, this is Amigurumi from Círculo. Círculo is the name of the brand, it's a Brazilian brand, and it's very funny because they say they recommend a 2mm size to 4mm size for this yarn. And I usually crochet with a 2.5 or 2.2mm crochet hook size. 2mm, it's like very, very small for this yarn. It doesn't fit for me, but I know a girl who likes to use a 1.8, and I have no idea how she does that, but it works because of her tension. And I also have a friend who likes to work with a 3mm or 3.5, and her stitches are very tight and very closed, even though she uses a bigger crochet hook size than I do. So it all depends on your crochet tension, how you hold the hook, how you hold the yarn in your non-dominant hand. It's something that you have to practice and feel what is more comfortable for you. And I know you might be thinking, but Bianca always talks about using a smaller crochet hook size. And I do talk about it a lot because it changes the tension, it changes the size of the stitches. But when I say it, I don't mean that you have to use exactly the same size that I use. So the best tip for you is to try. You purchase, I don't know, a new yarn ball, make some samples with it. Make some samples with this yarn using a 2, 2.5, 2.2, I don't know, the size of the crochet hook that you have at home, just for you to check which one is more comfortable in your hands, which one you feel like your stitches are prettier or tighter without hurting your wrists, for example. So yeah, it's something that you have to experiment to try to find what is best for you, what feels comfortable for you. And since I'm talking so much about it, my tip number 3 is watching your crochet tension. And tension is another game changer when talking about amigurumis. Your tension can change depending on so many reasons, and I do have another video here in the channel where I talk about crochet tension, why does it change, and how to improve it. But all in all, I would say that if you're tired, you're not feeling like you're 100% yourself that day, maybe your tension will change throughout the project. You start with tight stitches and then they become a little bit loose. Maybe it's better for you to give yourself a rest and not finish this project like in this moment. And I say that because it happened to me already. I really wanted to finish a project and I was so tired. I didn't sleep well the previous night, but yeah, it was decided to finish this project, so I kept crocheting because I wanted to finish it. A couple of days later, I looked at my amigurumi and I was not happy with how it looked. I was not happy with the result. And if I'm being honest with you, I didn't like the result. I was definitely not proud of it. It would have been better if I just let the project aside, gave myself a rest for a few hours, maybe a day, and finish it later so I could look at my amigurumi and feel proud of that job. Tip number 4, overstuffing your amigurumi. That's also a very common mistake, and honestly, again, your amigurumi can be very, very ugly if you overstuff it. Especially if you don't have like very, very tight stitches, we start to see stuffing coming out of your amigurumi between stitches, and you see those holes getting expanded. So yeah, it's not beautiful at all. And I am sure this is not the professional look you want for your dolls in the end. We have to find a balance between leaving your amigurumi empty and overstuffing it. So it is something that usually people take for granted. They don't give enough attention to stuffing, and it is something that changes a lot your amigurumi. Because stuffing also determines the shape of the toy. It's not only the pattern itself. Stuffing makes a huge difference, which is something that I also explain in this video here. Well, I guess it will be here. But I talk about the square head, and the other video that I talk specifically about how to stuff the amigurumis correctly. Okay guys, there is still one tip left that I want to share with you. Before I give you this special tip, I want to hear from you. Which of the tips given so far you feel that you have to improve yourself? Also, if you're still not subscribed to my channel, this is the moment that you click in a button down below, subscribe to my channel, and give me a thumbs up so I can keep creating those videos and tutorials for you. Tip number 5, fasten off. As I told you in the beginning, I developed this technique myself because when I started crocheting a long time ago, there were no tutorials teaching how to do that in amigurumis. Amigurumis became more popular like in the past few years, and I crocheted them like for 8 or 9 years of my life. And in the beginning, there weren't many tutorials available, and I didn't know what to do with the remaining thread in my amigurumis. So yeah, in order to hide this part that I didn't know what to do, I usually created accessories for my dolls. I remember creating bow ties for my elephants and giraffes and things like that because I didn't know what to do. So I kept creating those accessories because I was hiding the knots and remaining threads that I had no idea what to do with them. So I developed this technique. I don't know if I have ever seen someone teaching this, but maybe it already exists. I'm not saying that I am the person who created everything, I discovered fire or things like that. It's just something that I developed myself, and honestly I've never seen someone talking about it, but maybe it already existed and I just don't know who created it. So I finished this bow here, and I want to show you now how I fasten off after I do my inverted magic ring. So with the help of a tapestry needle, you see that there are some holes here in the decreases. You can see the stuffing. It doesn't look pretty, and this is not something that we want. So this trick, let Let's do this in this hole here. So I insert the remaining thread. I didn't fasten off. This is still the remaining thread from the inverted magic ring. I grab any loop here next to the hole. It can be this loop, this, it's up to you. I will use this one. Okay. I tie a knot. I should have left a bigger thread, but I guess you can see that. I tie a knot, pull it. There is a knot here, as you can see, but we also have a hole. So how we are going to hide this hole? I insert again the tapestry needle. You can leave at any place in a bowl, and you see that the knot covers the hole. I don't even know if you can see that properly, but this here is the knot, and it looks like a stitch. I still can see a hole, but it's smaller than it was before. Let's do it one more time. I hope this is enough thread to do it. Okay, this is a hole already. I will use this loop, and again you can choose any loop next to the hole. I tie a knot. And I want to hide this hole, so I leave like this. And again, we have another hole a bit more closed. Of course, if you have like lots of holes in your amigurumi, it will be tiring, and I don't know if it will look very pretty. But if you just have one or two stitches that are a little bit loose and one or other hole between stitches that you want to hide, this technique will be very helpful. And there you have it. With these tips here, you'll be well on your way to create beautiful amigurumis without holes. Remember to practice and be patient. It may take a while for you to develop all these skills, but I am 100% sure that you get there. You can also check this video here, because I'm pretty sure you'll like it too.